Alrighty, good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, February 8th, 2024. Let's go ahead and jump on back and take a look at what happened here yesterday. Now, we were talking about seeing the same old potential bearish stuff from the highs, but what we wanted to see was at least a pushback through the previous daily high, 50% of the previous day, before we really hung our hats on that bearish side of things. Outside of that, we talked about how strong the market was, and the fact that we were breaking out in the pre-market session was a good sign that we were probably going to come up, as long as we could hold again from the previous daily high, on our shorter time frames, holding above our key moving averages. We were targeting, and it's right in our report, just in front of 5,009 here. That's what I told you guys. And what is going on with my mouse? Give me a second here. So we were targeting to 5,009, very discrete area on the chart, and I told you probably want to take it about a point or two in front just in case we were to come up and fell. So we would have gotten a really nice fill just in front of 5,009, and then our next target was up to 50.22 half. However, again, same thing, you probably want to take a little profit just in front in case we do fail, and we barely make it to the level. So that was the game plan yesterday. And out of the open here, interestingly enough, we held from the our roadmap level at 72 half in the overnight session before we came into yesterday morning's open there. It was also the previous daily close, if I'm seeing this correctly. We pushed in the pre-market right to our 97.75 area here, pulled back, held our 89 half, and notice it was kind of like a ping pong back and forth, and then finally one last test to the tick, and then maybe we could zoom this in a little bit, sorry. Came right in, tagged it. Does 3 tests of that level holding above VWAP, and then we got our push, and from there it was aggressive, holding our FMA up to 5,009, and then for quite a while, and I was watching this and thinking like, man, I'm glad I told everyone to take profit around 5,007, because as you guys can see, for hours and for a couple hours, it just petered out. And I saw this and I thought, well, that might be it. We might come right up to this 5,009 area, try to go ahead and break through it, and then that could be it. But we did eventually, at the end of the day here, or midday, going toward the end of the day, come up and almost tag into our next roadmap level, which was 50.22 half. So we missed out by 2.5 points there. 22 half was the target. I told you probably take some profit just in front of that area in case we did fail in this type of fashion. And we came to 50.20. So 2.5 points from that scaffolding level. And then we began this little pullback that's bringing us here into Thursday morning. So again, pretty easy morning here if you bought the first pullback, right? So we opened right at our roadmap level, pulled back off of it, and then your opportunity here either to buy 89 half, which was the first expected support as the price was pulling back here, or buying VWAP, but we missed VWAP by 1 tick. So you would have had to have kind of chased it once it moved away from there, or bought that third test. And then from there was very, very easy, right? You buy around, say, 49.90. You take your profit just in front of 5,009. You get yourself a nice, easy trade with no risk within the first half hour of the open. And then from there, maybe you have your runner to take profit in front of 22 half. And if you did, you probably would have got a nice 30-point trade out of it, assuming you took profit about 2-3 points in front. All throughout after that first morning rally, it would have been a tricky situation because, again, it seemed to peter out for a long time and then even looked like it was going to pull back a little bit deeper, wherever that was here, right here where we came up and failed just in front of the high of the morning there and started to break lower, got our crossover and started coming back to VWAP, and then it popped right back up again, and then eventually chugged up to that high of the day. So that second half of the morning and the end of the day probably a tricky situation if you're trying to play directionally there. But eventually we did get up and fell just 2.5 points in front of the scaffolding. That's why I'm typically taking profit in front of these areas, because sometimes that's what happens in front of a major level in the market. So remember, these scaffolding levels that we have on the chart are indicating higher time frame consolidation zones. So trying to pinpoint a high time frame level down to one tick, we do get it. We get rotations off our scaffolding to the tick or within a couple ticks all the time. But remember, it is a bit of a zone, being that this is more of a high time frame, chop block in here. And maybe I should, this is what we see if we zoom out in higher time frames, stuff kind of chopping back and forth. And again, higher time frames mean you have a little bit more of a margin for error. So failing 2 points in front of there, still, for all intents and purposes, good enough. Now that brings us here into the overnight session. Notice what happened here. We stair step down the level. So the market opened here into Globex, failed right off the previous daily close, came down, failed right off the VWAP. There is that trade that I've been talking about for months and months in the overnight session, coming back to tag the VWAP once we appreciably get below or above it. Whoops. And then that push down, and then we stair stepped right off the next roadmap level. Literally all three levels here. Previous daily close of the extended session, VWAP, and then our support and resistance at 5,009. There's 5,009 again. And now, right now, it looks like they're trying to come back up. And as you can see, for now, got our first step off 5,009 again. And here we are coming just a couple minutes from the open now. So that concludes our review from yesterday, coming into the open right now. Let's go ahead and go up to the higher time frame